Hi, welcome. It's time for a children's book reading or reading for children by a candidate. And I am a candidate. My name is Susan Maude Buchser-Lochocki, and I was a presidential candidate from the 2024 presidential election, also in 2020. And that's when I started doing children's book readings online, was back in 2020. Anyway, I didn't get the position either time, but I am still holding out with a little hope from the 2024 presidential election because we have a lot of fraud in the system. And I have a lawsuit pending with the Supreme Court, so I'm waiting to hear back from them on that. And then the other thing is that I've asked a few other candidates to read, and nobody wanted to, so it's still me, and only me, but I'm here to read more from the U.S. Constitution, and we are at the amendment part, where the Constitution was changed several times at different times of our country's history. And so that's what I'm going to read now. And the ones I'm going to read are Amendment 18, which was ratified in 1919, and also I'm going to read Amendment 19, which was ratified in 1920. So I'm going to do those two. I might do a third one, just a brief bit about it, because it has something to do with the 18th Amendment. So, Amendment 18, Section 1. After 1 year from the ratification of this article, the manufacturing, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors within the importation thereof into or the exportation thereof from the United States and all territories subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverage purposes is hereby prohibited. So what that says is that intoxicating beverages, so they're talking about alcoholic beverages, are prohibited. So there was a prohibition that happened in 1919, or actually 1920, and you could not buy or sell or make alcoholic beverages, wine, beer, hard liquors, mixed drinks. None of that was allowed. It was prohibited. So Section 2 says the Congress and the several states shall have concurrent power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Section 3 is this article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of the several states as provided in the Constitution within 7 years from the date of the submission hereof to the states by the Congress, period. Okay, so what all that means is that it is prohibited. It took effect a year after it was ratified, which was then in January 1920. And the Congress can make changes or enforce it through legislation. This article so it had to be ratified within 7 years. And it was, because there was a period of time where you could not drink alcohol in the United States. And so then these things called speakeasies became popular. Now, over 10 years later, there was another amendment, the 21st Amendment, which happened in 1933. And in this amendment, the 21st, the Section 1 says the 18th article of the amendment to the Constitution of the United States is hereby repealed. So sometimes amendments can be removed. That's what repealed means. Then it goes on to say, but I'll go over that a little later, especially. But I wanted to let you know that it did happen. Our country tried to go without alcohol. And then they decided it was finally too much and that alcohol was not as bad, I guess, as they thought. On the other hand, the country, should be worried about many things, but restricting rights of citizens to live life and, do what they want to do with their bodies is the important thing. And this was a amendment that actually infringed on the rights of the citizens to drink or eat something that they want. So it's actually technically against the law to do that. So it's a good thing it got reversed. Okay, then Amendment 19, ratified in 1920. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. So, the one thing I will say is that, when they say Congress can enforce this with appropriate legislation, that is sort of the peaceful way to get things done. I don't know if it always works, but it was certainly an attempt to be peaceful. So, according to this amendment, the 19th Amendment, women had the right to vote. And it's not just the right to vote, it's the right to have your vote counted. And this is something that we're still today, over 100 years later, trying to achieve. We still have states that are throwing women's votes out. So this is not really acceptable. And the Supreme Court knows it. It's what my lawsuit is about. So anyways, if you want to go ahead and look me up. I have a website, which is susan4usa.com. That's Susan, the number 4, USA.com. So please go ahead and have a look there. And the amendment process, it is complicated, but in this case, when sometimes a bad amendment comes into effect, one can reverse it after a certain amount of time when you see the reality of the amendment and how it works. Okay, so that is my news for today. Again, it's susan4usa.com. Thank you for stopping by, and I wish you a nice day wherever you are. Bye for now.